Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's morning webinar, at least this morning here in Denmark. Um, Today, we are going to talk about how to implement reuse systems for food packaging in institutional catering. But before we do that, I would like to just make a brief presentation on me in the first place. My name is Mads Olan Andersen, and I'm a project manager and strategic designer in Gate 21. And we work with the green transition in a broad sense, also in this project Change Now. But we are sitting currently here in Denmark, and we have a beautiful program for you today. But firstly, before we run into that, I would like for you, some of you have already done it, to write where you come from in the chat, just to check in. So please do that. And while we do that, I have some house rules for you today. Because we are many people, please mute your microphone during the webinar today, so we don't have too much noise. And use the chat for questions. We will try to gather all the questions that you have during this webinar and try to answer as many of them as possible. So use the chat for questions along the way. We will, of course, share the slides afterwards, as well as all the information that I myself give you, and also the great panel that we have today. The webinar will also be recorded and shared afterwards, so if you missed a point or weren't able to join today, you could also rewatch it for later. But the reason why we're here today is that we have this project called Change Now, and it's about creating a mindset shift from single-use to circular and multiple-use food delivery systems in cities across the Baltic countries. And the purpose is to shift from single-use to reuse packaging, test and scale circular solutions in real life throughout pilots. And then, of course, as a very important part of this project is also to transfer knowledge and tools in order for others outside the projects to begin their journey with implementing and building reuse systems. And this webinar is a part of this last bullet. Throughout the project, there is 23 project partners and 14 associated organizations associated here at the project, and we have 8 Baltic Sea Region countries represented in the project, and as many as 9 pilot locations, and I've written down here 27 pilots has been conducted throughout the last 2 years, so it's really impressive. Today, you're going to hear from 3 partners, pilot partners, and their experience. We'll talk about their lessons learned. We'll touch upon the procurement, what procurement is actually needed to support reuse systems, policy, how do you gain political mandate to initiate these reuse systems, and lastly but not least, operations, how do you build a system that works in practice. So these are the themes that we're going to talk about today. And stay tuned for the last bit, because we have a really great offer for you after the discussions. But before we dive into the presentation from the pilot partners, I just briefly want to touch upon the definition of packaging reuse. It refers broadly to delivery models in which a single package is achieved multiple trips, rotations, or uses for the same purpose for which it was originally used, not to be confused with recycling. So just to get everybody on the same page, this is the definition that we worked with in this project. So before I will give the word to the panel, I want you to briefly reflect on this question. From your experience or your point of view, what do you see as the biggest challenge when working with or wanting to work with, maybe in the future, reusable packaging and reuse systems in institutional catering? So if you could take one brief moment and maybe write in the chat what you see as the biggest challenge, and then we'll try to answer it in the later discussion. So while you do that, I would like to introduce you to the amazing panel that we have on board today. We have Tuula from Finland, who is the CEO from Smart and Lean Hub. Welcome, Tuula, and thank you for participating. We have Sarosh, who is a special consultant in Copenhagen Municipality. Welcome, Sarosh, to you. Nice to have you on board. Thiele from the city of Tallinn, who is a project manager responsible for their pilots. Welcome, Thiele. And last but not least, Evelyn from Stockholm Environmental Institution in Tallinn, who is a senior expert there and has worked across the different pilots and supported them during their journey. So welcome all of you, and we are very pleased to have you on board. So the first pilot that I want to like to introduce is Tuula. I will give the floor to you to give a brief introduction to what you've been working with in the last 2 years.
Thank you, Mads. All good. Yes, greetings from Finland and greetings from city of Lahti. In the beginning of the project, it was very clear from Lahti city perspective what we should do. We should concentrate on procurement for production kitchen. This production kitchen feeds about 40 schools, and it produces about 12,000 meals every day, which means 2.5 million platefuls annually. And what was the issue? The issue was the amount of packaging waste and not optimal types of packaging, meaning reused packaging was not there so visible as it should be. So that was the frame. And green public procurement together with packaging and packaging waste regulation were in the center. During the project, we created from the scratch 21 procurement criteria for food packaging for institutional catering. You can look into the platform through the QR code. I will not go to the details. Next slide, thank you. Key learnings. It was clear that we need to help public procurement to work in such a way that they can also bring forward the topic of packaging and food packaging, because that's not an easy field at all. There are a lot of requirements for food packaging, and public procurement needs help in municipalities. Exactly, somebody is saying hygiene and safety. That is one issue in food packaging, and it makes it very, very challenging. But we try to give some tools for procurement. What was the challenge? Navigating through so many policies, strategies, roadmaps in different levels. The image on the right side shows all those, and we need to find our way to make some sense of this in a practical level. So that's about it.
Thank you, Tuula. I have a question in the chat about the slides. I hope everybody sees them. If we will make sure that they are there. Otherwise, speak out in the chat. Merle, we will try to fix it for you. Thank you, Tuula, so much for this brief introduction. You will also get the chance to dive a little deeper in your answers. But one thing I would like to ask from you is from your experience, when you look at your learnings here, what is the single most important thing that you will recommend others to do to get started on this journey? I know it's a difficult question, but if you should point at one thing that you should do to get started, what would you recommend?
During the last 2 weeks, we have had so-called municipality round. together with my colleague Johanna. And it has been very nice situation to talk with those people who are working in the institutional kitchen, the workers, because they know a lot. So talk with people who does the work. Start with that, and then continue to different departments like procurement. So those people who are dealing with packaging waste, reuse packaging, talk with them.
So all the different actors involved in this
Exactly.
movement.
Yeah. Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tula, and thank you for the presentation. We will still collect questions in the chat, so please just write them there, and then we will get back to them. But before we do that, I will give the words to Sarosh from the municipality of Copenhagen. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mads. Hello, everyone. I'm Sarosh from the municipality of Copenhagen, and I'm the project manager for the task we had in the Change Now project towards institutional catering. So a little bit of context. We also make food in a central kitchen. It's located in Valby in Copenhagen. We make around approximately 6,000 meals a day, which was historically served in single-use packaging. This meal goes out to around 56 schools, and our project was to eliminate single-use packaging totally. This was the intent or the ambition. So we spent a lot of time in designing the reuse system, the technical part of it. What was needed, what did we want, the feedback from the system. So we made a system that's RFID tracked. We have trackers on all of our packaging, so we can see real life how much packaging is being used, what is the CO2 reduction, what is the waste reduction, how much money are we potentially saving in procurement of single-use packaging. So this was a key initial part of the system, that we could document the CO2 emissions and the savings from the system. This is run by the municipality of Copenhagen. They own the system, they run the system, and yeah, I think we will go on to the next slide from here. So this is the context of the system, and so how did we actually go about creating such a system? I think first of all, it needs a very strong institutional anchoring with the people of your, for instance, us in the municipality. I work in the technical department. The school is in another department. So the understanding of collaboration and sharing the same goal, and knowing that this is something that we want to do. We might not do it tomorrow, but it's a path that we want to take. So this was a very essential. I think Cesar is also here in the webinar, who is the project manager from the school side, and the good collaboration there is essential, I think. And also to align why are we doing this throughout the organization is very important. It's not just because of sustainability when it comes to schools. I think also the other part of educating children to working to understanding the value of resources is also an essential part of this system. And also you can say what the challenges or the surprises was for the system. I hope I'll get the same question, Mads, because I would like to also talk about all the things that went before you create such a system. It is not something you do over the day, but if anyone is thinking of maybe implementing such a system in their own institution, one thing is scale. It needs some sort of scale for it to be feasible if you run it yourself. And also, like some of the good things is that you also shift the economy from buying single-use packaging to actually hiring people for the service, for washing and different things. So this is also, I think, for public institutions, something that we want to look into, rather give the money to people than to single-use packaging. And some of the findings that we've just made actually right now, like a couple of weeks ago, is that the students actually really like this reusable packaging. They experience eating food from it is a better experience. And also, like, historically, they found waste sorting a little disgusting, so they weren't very fond of that. And also the workload. There are some theses about maybe when you introduce reusable packaging, it really puts a lot of load on the staff. But from what our experience is now, the staff needs to do other things than they used to before, but it doesn't necessarily put extra load on the staff. And you can see some of these pictures. This is the reusable packaging that we have in the school, the black one that you can see there, and also the single-use packaging that you can see is something that we had before and also still have in some schools, because we haven't implemented this in all of the schools. But this is littering outside of the school. So we are also trying to eliminate littering from the school, and also waste management costs, and try to introduce a reuse system to educate the children.
Thank you, Sarosh. I know it's a difficult task I put you on to talk about all this great stuff you've done in the last 2 years in 3 minutes. So well done. Same questions for you, Sarosh. From your experience, if you should point at one thing that is the most important thing to do to get this journey started, what would it be?
To get it started, I would say work on the human factors, like anchoring with the people that work with the institution, talk to them, what are their needs, what are the issues that they're looking into. And when you have all this knowledge with the technical system, I think starting the sandbox, really think of a sandbox model. That's what we did. We tested a lot of different usage models before we started implementing or testing this model that you see here. So the human factor, get everyone involved, get everyone on board, thinking that this is something that we want to do, and spend a lot of time on designing the system, because this design can also make or break the potentials of the system.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So a little bit also in line with what Tula mentioned about getting people on board, everyone that's involved or could potentially be involved in the future in this system, and also of course testing the package in itself is really important to see if it works and how it should be further developed to make it work. Thank you, Sarosh. Then we have the next one on board is Tile. Welcome, Tile, and the floor is yours.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Dele. I'm project manager in Tallinn City, and I will briefly walk you through our pilot project on replacing single-use packaging in hospital catering. The pilot took place in 2 hospitals in Tallinn, covering multiple buildings. Every morning, around 600 breakfast sandwiches are prepared in a central kitchen and transported to hospitals. Before the pilot, each sandwich was packed individually in plastic boxes with plastic lids. This meant a very large amount of single-use plastic every day. During the pilot, we changed this system. Instead of individual packaging, sandwiches were placed in reusable GN containers and transported without single-use plastic. In hospital kitchen, sandwiches were served in ceramic plates. This change slightly increased the workload of hospital kitchen staff, and they needed to plate the sandwiches and later collect and wash the dishes. However, the environmental and the financial benefit clearly outweighed this. Next slide, please. One of the key learnings was that strong cooperation between partners matter a lot. The catering provider and hospital worked closely together, and support from hospital management was critical because we faced resistance from hospital kitchen staff, mainly due to the change of daily routine. Once hospital management made the clear decision, the resistance quickly disappeared. From the city perspective, our role was to support the communication and show a strategic interest and learn from the process. Importantly, we can now use the this example to influence future public procurements and include rules requiring to reduce single-use plastic. After the pilot, the new system remained in place and is still working well today. Yep, and that's about it.
It's very great to hear that it's still in place and running. So, Tile, if you should, as well as the two others, should point at one important thing that you would recommend others to do to get started, what would it be from your experience?
In our case, the support from the leadership, especially hospital leadership, was, as I said, a critical part. So without it, maybe we wouldn't have succeed, because operational resistance can stop the change sometimes.
Yeah, so what you wanted to implement was having an effect on the workload, as you mentioned, for the hospital staff. So getting a support from the hospital management was crucial to get started.
Yes.
Yeah.
In our case, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tile. And we will, of course, also get back to some of your experiences later in the discussion. Now we have our last panelists, which are a little different than the other three, because Evelyn, you worked across the different pilots, supporting them, working together with them to initiate these pilots. So you have a more broad picture of what they dealt with along the way, and maybe also what to do and not to do. So from your point of view, across the cases and countries, what are the most important similarities and also differences in how these reuse systems were actually implemented? If you could put some words on your experiences here, and also maybe what seems to be the most critical success factors when implementing these reuse systems.
Yes, hello everybody. I start with actually differences. It was the pilots, because we presented here 3 pilots, but there were actually more of them. So in a way, I take it up for all these pilots that we had in institutional catering, and one key difference was the level of technology used. For example, Copenhagen tested a more advanced system with this RFID, which is radio frequency identification tracking, while other cities used more simpler solutions like deposit systems or reusable trays. And this meant some pilots were more data-driven, while others relied more on practical experiences and observation. And the other difference I could bring out was how the system affected daily work. In some cases, reuse made things simpler by reducing packaging tasks, while in others it added new responsibilities like washing, handling, or tracking containers. So while all pilots aim to reduce waste, the effort required in daily operations varied quite a lot. But still, there was also similarities that could be bring out, and one of these, I would say, is stakeholder collaboration, and this was also mentioned here a few times. So across all cities, the reuse system only worked when different actors worked closely together. And this included, municipalities, caterers, kitchen staff, suppliers, and users. And each group had a role to play. So when communication was strong and responsibilities were clear, also the implementation was much smoother. And then again, when collaboration was weak, it often led to delays or confusion. And another key similarity I would bring out was the importance of user behavior. In all pilots, the success of the system depended on how people actually used it in daily life. For example, students need to return containers, and staff had to adapt to new routines. And yeah, even small inconveniences could affect the participation. Yeah, so the pilots showed that systems need to be simple, clear, and easy to use. And that the behavior change, like in any other cases, it takes time and continuous communication, but it's still, yeah, is possible. And the success factor, you also asked, yeah?
Yeah.
So, so maybe one of the most, well, I would bring out two in a way. One of them is how well the system fits into daily routines for both staff and users. So reuse systems work best when they were, yeah, like I said, already simple and convenient, and also easily integrated into existing workflows. So if the system was too complicated or added too much effort, like difficult returns or extra workload, it quickly reduced participation. But the pilot showed that even well-designed system will struggle if it doesn't match how people actually work and behave every day. But at the same time, the communication is important. Like so each part needs to know their role and what is their tasks and well cleared, but it's also very useful to explain why we are doing this, so they understand what's the bigger picture and how it fits to that. Yes, so that's all from my side now.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. And as the way I see it, there's a lot of different success factors that goes on different levels, both in terms of user behavior, workload and work behavior change within the system, but also in a level of technology that needs to be implemented. So we have a lot of different success factors, but also maybe challenges that needed to be overcome in these pilots. And of course, you can read much more about all of the pilots, not just the 3 of them represented today, in the material that we will send out, the links we will send out afterwards. So you can read more about them there. But thank you so much, Evelyn, for now. Before we dive into the panel discussion, I've got a lot of questions here in the chat already, but if you have something that you haven't written already, please do it now, and you can also do it along the way in the discussion. But I will just stop sharing now, actually. Write it in the chat if you have questions. It's mentioned, but now I'll stop the presentations for a while, because it's time for the panelists to get on board and maybe dive a little deeper into the different elements of these. And to kick it off, I would like to start off with the theme of procurement, and we have a perfect question maybe at first for Tula, but then the other guys can also tip in. And this is regarding the material of which these packaging is made. Is it from virgin plastics rather than recycled? In order to minimize the waste, we're adding plastic production. Then we would like to ask Tula if this was something that you worked with during your procurement criteria, that where does the plastic come from? Is it virgin plastics or is it something that is recycled? So maybe Tula, you could put some words on how you work with the material in your procurement.
Wow, that was a question.
Yeah, I know.
I know, awful. Well, because the target was a procurement, we didn't go so deep into the material technology. We stayed on level that please don't use too much plastic, but use plastic when it's necessary because of food safety, or because this is the only good way to prevent food waste, or something like that. So we tried to figure out what is the optimal packaging. You know, the problematic thing is that, for example, in the production kitchen in Lahti, they have 1,300 different items they buy from suppliers: milk, meat, cheese, and so on and so on. And they are all in different kind of packages. So it's very complex, and every case, every item is different. So I'm trying to avoid answering to your question because I cannot. It's too complicated. But I know that we must start working with packaging, and it continues until end of the day. And the end of the day is in the future. So this is continuous work. And we, and when I say we, that means procurement and staff in kitchen, they have to be critical, and they have to require, and they have to have demands which fit to their purposes.
Thank you, Tula. I know it's a difficult question, but I think it gets a good picture of the complexity of making a procurement that is also involving the material. Is there any other from the panel that wants to tip in with the answer? Maybe, I don't know, Serosh or Tile, do you have something to add to this discussion?
Yes, sure. I can go ahead. We also did the procurement. I think the difference here is, from what I'm understanding, is we procured the packaging that food is served in, and Tula is working with the packaging that food is sent in bulks. So it's a different system. But yes, we did have some criteria for plastics and different materials. We wanted PP, and we did not want it recycled because of it's not allowed to use recycled PP for food. It's not food grade plastics at that point. Then we could have asked some questions about PET plastic, but we didn't want to use that either because it's more costly and it's heavier on CO2. But we wanted to work with clean materials. So we only have PP, for instance, in our packaging, so we can recycle it in the existing material plastic streams that we have here in Copenhagen or in Denmark. So this was something that we had was very serious about, not procuring something that would make an issue at waste.
And how was that? How was the businesses reacting to this?
They were acting fairly fine because this is just the normal packaging material. It's nothing rocket science about this. PP is what they normally use.
Yeah.
But we wanted the clean materials. We also had some criteria about like that it could be heated, different things, but also that the color of the packaging, because we didn't want food migrating into the plastic. So there were some technical criteria, but on the packaging material itself, it was fairly simple.
Thank you. And what about you, Tila? Do you have something to add to this question?
I think I don't have much to add because in our case we want to avoid plastic at all, so we don't have the certain kind of criteria to the type of plastic.
Okay. Thank you. Now, in terms of the challenges that were brought up, some mentioned here, I don't have the name, unfortunately, but some mentioned that the price of packaging is still not available for small businesses and organizations. Do you have something, some experience related to the accessibility and on the pricing of these packaging? How to make them more available or more relevant for small businesses and organizations to tip into these kind of pilots and procurement to win them?
I can maybe say something about this. It really depends on your size and what ambition you have. Do you want to own your own system? It could also, if you're a very small like office space, for instance, you can just have plates and a washing machine. You don't need to look into these big complex systems. But when you move up in size, like for these school meals for 6,000 meals a day, then the complexity changes a little bit. And when we did the sandbox model, we were looking into different washing models, with third party, washing ourselves, washing at schools, different things, to look into what was easiest, was the most convenient, what was the cheapest, also on CO2, which was had the lowest CO2 emissions. So I would say if you want to use reusable packaging and you don't have the scale, don't create your own system. There might be a system that you can buy into in your city or in your country. But if you have a certain scale, I think the feasibility is having your own system. And if you have a very, very small, then plates and a small washing machine, I think works well.
Thank you. Evelyn, looking across the different pilots, do you see a pattern in how small businesses and organizations participate in these pilots, and what were the sort of circumstances that were needed for them to participate and that it would be accessible for them to be a part of?
You mean via procurement or via, because the question is like, yeah, how small companies could be part of the like a supplier side.
Yes. Do you see small businesses actually being part of these pilots in the project?
Yeah, perhaps if it's a bigger system, it can be difficult, and it's throughout different procurements that the small businesses have harder time of getting in if it's a like bigger bigger bulks of procurement. But it depends on the system, I guess. What do they have? It's kind of difficult to say. It depends on so many factors. Yeah.
You. What about Tila and Tula? Do you have anything to add to this?
Just to say case by case, it depends. Just like Evelyn said that if something general is said, it's nothing basically, because you have to deep dive into the case and that's it. On the other hand, at least in Finland, food supplies, and particularly SME supplies, are valued. We want to support from the government side that all size and kinds of suppliers are able to participate tendering and get an agreement. So basically, there shouldn't be any problems, but real life is different.
Yes. So it's manageable, but you need to get the right contracts and things in place.
Indeed, and in the end of the day, every supplier has to create value. And
yes.
Sometimes the value can be in packaging itself. Because if potato is always the same, but the packaging might make the difference.
So you experience that it actually a selling point that to have a nice packaging.
Not nice, but practical.
Practical.
Food
yes.
safety, environmental friendly, logistically, and so on.
Yes. And that actually brings me right ahead to the next theme or question that we got from the audience regarding the hygiene and washing systems of your pilots. So maybe Tila, you can tap into how did you work ensuring that the hygiene was as it should be, and how did you go forth with this, especially in a hospital context where people are ill and need a high standard on clean plates and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, the hospitals in Estonia, they have plates and they have washing machines, and most of the meals are served in ceramic dishes, for example, for lunch and for dinner. The reason why the sandwiches in the first place were packed in one-time plastic boxes was more about if the patient doesn't want to eat the sandwich right away and wants to eat it after, the sandwich would dry. And when it's in the plastic box, the drying doesn't happen so fast. But the hygiene, in our case, we didn't need to think about it because the system regarding the hygiene was already there.
Okay. And what about Sarosh? Do you have something to add to the hygiene, because you are offering a lot of meals for school children, right?
So it's so by design, when you procure the packaging, you have to look into the corners and different places where the water can hide, and there can be some issues about hygiene. So procurement look into the packaging design. Is it actually set up to be washed so many times and still uphold its integrity? The washing line that you use that it needs to be set up for this kind of packaging with the heat and everything. Also the drying part of it is very essential. And then I would say what we're looking into right now, we are actually on the verge of getting a project where we will do migration test on this packaging, because this is fairly new. Like, there are not a lot of analysis and tests out in the world when you use reusable packaging like this. So we're looking into the migration of chemicals and food that goes into the plastic, and also maybe some migration from the plastic into the food. So this is something that we will do a lot of analysis on from the packaging that we have now, to see if there is any health issues related to reusable packaging when it gets washed, gets heated many times. Are there any migration issues? This is something we're looking into. To make sure that this is not only a sustainable and feasible case, but also a healthy case for the children. And then obviously you can, it depends on the system you have, but you can also do swipe tests. This is something we do in the city system, which we'll have a webinar on, but you can also swipe the packaging every time you wash it, or take some samples out and swipe it to see if there are any issues regarding it.
Yeah. And in line with that, Sarosh, good point. I have some questions related to both the recyclability when you add a RFID tag to the cup or the food container. How is that end of life
good question.
challenge? How is that dealt with? And also in terms of the tracking, did you work with tracking, or how did it work in this? So maybe not starting with you, Sarosh, you can get the word in the end, but maybe Tula or Tile or Evelyn, you want to add something, how you work with the RFID, if you work with RFID, or and do you have anything to add to the recyclability discussion on these products?
We didn't work with RFID, but I know that bigger production kitchens use that as kind of a tracking method, or at least it's usable there, because they are sending the food from production kitchen to several service kitchen, and then the containers come back. We have the same, traffic coming and going between the production and service kitchens. So they have a system. I don't know anything about it, I admit, because that was not in the core of our pilot. But we use it, and it's very usable. It's good system.
What about you, Evelyn? Do you see sort of different ways of going about tracking the recycling of these containers, and what the different elements of looking at the recycling bit?
I have to say that I'm not an expert in this. It was only Copenhagen case that actually used the system in among our pilots. So I would delegate this question to Sarosh to comment. I think he's knows much more about this.
Perfect. We'll guide the question to Sarosh.
Yeah.
That was a very circular question that went back to me anyways. about the RFID, it's a very good question, because this is some thoughts that we had in the beginning. If we molded the chip into the packaging, then it would become electronic waste, and that's an issue for recycling. So what we have, and also it would become more expensive. So what we have, Mash, you had actually a picture of it. We have stickers, RFID stickers on the packaging that can be washed many times, so that's not an issue. And at the end of life, you will be able to take the stickers off and then sort the packaging as normal plastic waste. So it's not electronic waste in such a sense, and it also is a lot cheaper to work with a system like this with RFID, when it's just a sticker and not embedded into the material.
Thank you so much. So now I will change a little bit of the theme, because there is also something, and you mentioned it a lot in your presentations as well, about the user behavior and the user experience. So regarding hospitals, Tele, how was your experience with the patients actually using this new service, and what were their meal experience? Do you have any experience from that part in your pilot? How do they react to the new change?
Yeah, most of the patients are not so long time in hospital, so most of them don't have the comparing possibility. And we didn't conduct a formal study, but we observed that sandwiches may dry out if they are not eaten immediately, and also the butter on the sandwich can melt when the sandwich is served next to the hot food or hot drink. So there are, yes, some not so good issues related to that, but yeah, we are still keeping the system.
So another question we also got for you, Tele, was washing challenges. Did you experience anything with the capacity at the hospital, or in line with the new logistics that were needed to take place in regards of washing?
The biggest challenge was, as I mentioned, the resistance from the staff, because they just got some extra work relating to this new approach. But as the hospitals actually have really good possibilities to wash dishes, and they do it all the time during the lunch and dinner. So there isn't like anything, any problems with that.
So you were able to sort of implement it in the existing logistics
Yes.
and existing workflows that were
Yeah.
in place at the hospital.
Yeah.
That's maybe also a good recommendation for others, like try to see how it could fit into the existing system, so the change is not too large.
Yes.
Perfect. Now we've been through also the practical side and how procurement might look like if you to succeed with this. One thing I want to go about in the last 5 minutes or so is also what you also briefly mentioned, some of you, the political mandate, the organizational backing of such a pilot. Like, how do you get started actually getting the acceptance from the right people within your own organization, your municipality, or wherever you work? So maybe Tula, do you have something to add to how do you actually get the backing from the right people inside your own organization? If you're a political organization, who are the people to be good friends with, and how do you go about this?
Yeah. As I mentioned, this pilot was addressed to Lahti, and it was executing Lahti's mission as a circular city, as a city with good practices for circular economy, and some kind of city which is trying to be first, not in everything, but in this sector. So we had a good backup. We had a mandate from city side, work on that area, try to make our procurement more green, try to think about plastic waste and all kind of waste and circular economy and things like that. So I didn't have any problems with that in the beginning. But just to say, there is always challenges. If we, as a pilot, if we notice that this could be a place for a change, there is a change for something, it takes a long time to go through the different city levels so that they can agree about this improvement into the policy or roadmap or strategy or action plan. So it needs patience. Nothing happens quickly. 3 years, 3 years is a short time when we try to change policy.
And some of you also talked about making, proof of concept, could we call it maybe, is also an approach. But Tele, do you have something to add to this question of how do you actually get the right backing from and mandate from the right people in order for you to get started actually developing a pilot or developing procurement that will eventually end up in a reuse system?
In our case, the incentive came from a catering company because they had they saw the environmental and financial benefit on the change, and when we explained the benefits to the hospital management, they of course agreed because they also care about the environment, I hope, and of course they care about the money.
So it's a matter of top down, that you need to acceptance from the people in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarosh, I know you talk a lot about these aspects as well in your work. So how did you go about getting the right people on board and the right mandate to get the ball rolling?
We started actually this work before the project. I think like in the project scope of 2-3 years, it's very hard to get the anchoring in such a big institution. But I think, it's aligning vision, and also with the dialogue we've had with the school Eat Meal program, they also thought it was a good idea. They wanted to work with it, so they were willing from the get-go, you can say. And when we talk about these things, our mission was to balance the reuse system in the current procurement costs that they have right now. So when we work in such a way where we say we'll just spend the same money as you do with single use, but we're trying to do something that's more sustainable, then we can get more people on board in a municipal context because we are not spending more money. But I think more important is the willingness from their part to say, yes, we want to do this. And this is something that a vision that we have, an ambition that we want to eliminate single-use packaging. So the motivation, like how to motivate different people, but they were already fairly motivated. I think a lot of people in the municipality are. So that was a great gift, you can say, for the project, and also for me, that I didn't necessarily have to spend a lot of time to convince them for this project.
Thank you. And last remarks from Evelyn before we'll go to the last bits from me. Evelyn, do you have something to add to this part?
Yes, I mean, in general, all these changes and also procurement also. One important thing is, like Stele also said, the management side. Like if they have if they have decided that this is a way they want to move towards, they allocate also more easily the resources then for changes, and it's then it's easier to communicate also that this is a common goal, and I think it makes then the change much easier. And when it comes to procurement, yes, I mean, with all the procurement, it is so that if it comes from the policy or strategic decisions also. It's strategic decision that this is what we are moving towards. Then the procurers also are, in wider terms, you know, it's not easier for them, but they maybe understand like why they are doing, and it's easier to bring them come along and start these changes, because at the beginning also, like Tula said, it's giving them the sort of tool how to go further. It's not easy for them to also start with these new approaches and new criteria. But yes, it definitely always helps to, if the top is already seeing this as important thing.
Thank you so much. To try to wrap up on all these very, very good points and experiences, thank you for sharing so much. We could say that it's both important to have the leadership, to have the mandate from the people in charge in order for the ball to get rolling, in order for you to be able to actually make some procurement, but not least, it's also important to look at all the different actors within the system, their roles, how they are motivated to take part in this new reuse system, and not least also the user behavior is an important topic. So that's just my wrap up. We have a lot of questions specifically in the chat, but we are out of time, unfortunately. But I will, before we end, just quickly share my screen again, because we have a very good offer for you that I want to mention. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Let me just roll into the right slide. Yes, because if you want to get started or just ask the great panelists here some more questions on the specifics. I saw there was a lot of questions also regarding the tracking and the technology of different systems. Please reach out to project manager Nicole, my colleague here, on this email, and then you have the chance to get a one-on-one online sparring with the pilot partners. So write to Nicole and write also why you want to get one-on-one sparring to get started. What are the questions that you want to get out of this sparring? And it's going to be between 15 minutes and 30 minutes. But we will take care of the planning. So write to Nicole. We will also send this out afterwards. And then in broader terms, if you want to learn more about the 24 other pilots in this project and the activities coming up, you can scan the QR code here in order for you to get into the project website. Here there will also be some upcoming training activities being shared there for you to dive even more into this. And the last bit is we have 2 upcoming webinars that you can scan here that talks about the other parts of this project that is also being piloted. The first one is Thursday, the 7th of May, same time as today. That will be about how to implement reuse systems for food packaging in at events, so not institutional kitchen, but at events. And then we have a webinar on the 28th of May, also at the same time, about takeaway and home delivery. So we will have pilot partners telling their stories at these webinars. So please, if you haven't already signed up, please do so. I will just leave this for a couple of seconds more for you to scan if you want to. Thank you so much, all the panelists. Thank you for sharing all your experiences. Thank you for sharing do's and don'ts. It was a pleasure. And for all the rest of you, good luck on this journey. Hopefully you got a lot of inspiration from this. And we will, of course, share everything to help you get started in the best way. From Gate 21, I will say thank you for this morning session. And hopefully see you out there at some point.